Do not scroll past this. We at the Land of Saints and Sinners have some very, very important information that you need to know. Who trusts Labour? I don't. But my question to you is, if you do trust Labour, after this, will you trust them? Do not forget that you've heard it here first. We have researched extensively today and we have found this information for you, and it is important that you do not delete this video and you share it and follow us so you can see what else is going on. But all started with looking at the BRIC card that they are trying to make mandatory. So Rich, we looked at the BRIC card and what did we find?
Well, the BRIC card they're trying to push by the summer 2025, that's this summer, and the three people involved in developing this paper, this research paper that they want to debate in Parliament and get it pushed through. The names are Laurel Boxall, and she actually worked for the Tony Blair Institute, so that should say enough about that. Morgan Wild, who was for many, many years a senior figure in the Citizens Advice Bureau, and a very important person. She is high up in AI as an AI specialist called Kirsty Innes. All three of these are big players in developing this BRIC card simply because of the expertise they bring. Firstly, the Tony Blair Institute. We know what that's about. The Citizen Advice Bureau, the amount of information and data on citizenship that he knows about. And of course, AI plays a huge part. And as we've warned before, AI can be very dangerous. They're going to use it because there'll be no face-to-face human reaction. It'll be digitalised.
Okay, so is this an extension from Tony Blair?
It very much so. I think as soon as you see Tony Blair's involvement, we know that he is a big, big advocate of digital ID. He's been talking about it for a very long time, and it's also part of the push that the WEF have been talking about in terms of having digital ID rolled out across the world.
So who is the driving force behind that?
Labour Together. They are the driving force behind it within the UK and this push for digital ID.
So Rich, who is the founder of Labour Together?
Well, Labour Together was founded in 2015 by Josh Simmons. He is no longer overseeing it. Surprisingly, the failed Labour MP Jonathan Ashworth, who lost his seat at the last election, is now currently the CEO. And they, surprisingly enough, have been quite dubious. Even the Times newspaper said that they were dysfunctional and it was a complete waste of space having them, but they still exist.
Okay, so look, Clark, what we're talking about is that these are going to become mandatory. Now, what's weird is that they're free.
That's bizarre because the cost and the implementation of these projects are hugely, hugely expensive. If you think even to renew your driving licence, it's cost you £14 to cover the renewal. Your passport, very, very expensive. It's about £100 to renew your passport. So this digital ID with the technology, the biometrics behind it is phenomenally expensive.
Clark, you said that it is phenomenally expensive. So Rich, who is actually funding this? Is it the taxpayers' money?
No, it's not taxpayers' money, but it's those with big pockets and deep pockets who are influencing government, and they've got connections which are very dubious. But that aside also, Jojo, let's not forget that this company, or this, if you like, this think tank, Labour Together, were fined £14,000 for not declaring donations of up to £700,000. But the people behind it are powerful people, and we're going to tell you about them right now.
Sorry, just really quickly, how does being fined £14,000 equate to the 700,000 donations that they've been given?
Well, when you've got people marking their own homework and those who are already entwined within the party looking for favour, does it come as any surprise that they get lenient sentences?
Let's just talk about Jeremy Corbyn. So Jeremy Corbyn was the Labour leader, and then all of a sudden he was ousted, and then all of a sudden we have again Keir Starmer appearing. Now, what's the deal there then?
Well, it was all part of the plan. Corbyn was on course to lose the general election, right? We all knew that, right? And so the Labour Party had to put someone up that they thought could really challenge the Conservative Party at the time. And Keir Starmer shone out for them because they were trying to pull the left of the party more centrist and more towards the right, to pull back voters that they'd lost because they'd gone too far left. And so these people conspired together. this Labour Together group think tank, policy thinkers as they call themselves, with big backers to get Keir Starmer elected so that they could control him. So this was pre-scripted, him becoming the leader and then ultimately the Prime Minister, backed by this Labour Together as well, who donated £166,000 to his campaign as well to become the leader and consequently the Prime Minister.
Is there anybody else that backed a good old Keir up?
Lord Hermer, of all people, was another one of the big backers of Sir Keir Starmer, who the Labour Together group thought was the most palatable to be passed off as being left of the party in order to bring them to the right.
So let me ask the question. Who are these big backers?
Well, these big backers, the ones that we know the names of, there may be others, but two that come out in our investigation are Martin Taylor and Trevor Chin.
And who are they? Rich?
Well, Trevor Chin is runs a private equity firm called CVC Capital, and we're talking billions of pounds. And he has donated millions and millions to the Labour Party. And these are names that you won't know about. They're not mainstream media, but they're influencing government. Hence, they're creating policies that affect people like us. For example, the Brit card. The other one that Clark mentioned, Martin Taylor, he contributed 3.2 million, Clark, didn't he?
3.2 million towards this whole digital ID push, Labour Together. That was a huge amount of money that came from his personal wealth. He was paid £10 million last year, according to accounts.
And he also ran a company called Nevsky, which was the biggest confectionery company in Russia. Would you believe it? Yes, that's right. So he was in receipt of Russian money. So when Labour accused other parties of Russian interference in elections, it's funny, isn't it? Some of their big backers that are part of this Labour Together were taking money and profits out of companies that were based in Russia.
So let me get this right. We've got a Jewish investor, we've got an American investor, and we have a Russian investor.
Well, the hedge funds are built deliberately to be quite unclear as to where they're investing their money and who they're funding and where they're getting their influences from. But we do know that some of the companies that they are investing in are companies in which this government and other governments have deliberately gone fairly easy on when it comes to Employment Act, taxation, tax avoidance and so forth.
So I said a long time ago on one of my podcasts, I actually said, I believe that he's allowing these illegal immigrants to come in for a reason. Now, Rich, what could that purpose be?
Well, the whole idea of this Brit card is that it gives you the right to live and work in the United Kingdom. So we have undocumented males, majority, coming over the English Channel, coming here. Now, the idea of immigration, when you let them in, and we've had open border policy since Tony Blair, going back to him again, digital ID, they want to be able to enforce digital ID by telling you, the public, if we bring this in, we can stop the boats crossing the channel. So it's all part of a huge plan that they've already worked it all out, that they're going to bring it in and people will accept it because they'll say, you know what, if this is what it takes to stop illegal immigrants or immigrants coming to our country who are not allowed to be here legally, then we will accept mandatory Brit cards.
Now, you see, this worries me a little bit because what it is a double bluff. There's a double bluff going on here. They're saying one thing and trying to lure people in to make you believe that this is all going to be a safety net, that we're all going to be protected. But what they're actually doing on the other side of the double bluff is going to entrap you. They are coercive and controlling, and this is gaslighting and political gaslighting at its finest. This, in a normal home life, would be illegal. However, they are getting away with it. We have investors paying money. We have people doing things on the schneid. And you know what? We're sat here as the people and we are suffering at their hands. Digital ID, is it a good idea or not?
Well, I think it's an awful idea. We've mentioned that on many podcasts before. I mean, when you consider as well that they're trying to bring it in by this summer, 2025, and they're already discussing it now, what it's going to do is it's going to allow the government to have control of all of your data, all of your banking, all of your biometrics, everything about you they will have. And this is an overreach of government power and a nanny state so they can control the masses.
What do you think, Clark?
I think it's very, very worrying. We've seen recently, haven't we, there's companies that have been brought to their knees with cyber attacks. Therefore, do we really trust this government with our data? Do we trust the security of our data with the government?
What is the ultimate agenda? Why do they want every single one of our details and everything about us on our phones?
It's all about the globalist agenda, which we've talked a lot about on here before. And I think it's part of the plan. And I've just been researching this mandatory credential that you'll have on your phone. It's not only the government that can access your details, it'll be employers and it'll be landlords. So they'll be able to check your bank, they'll be able to check your details, everything about you. And what's even more worrying for me is they'll even be able to check, some people, the government in particular, your medical records, which should be completely private between you and the doctor, because that's client privacy, whatever they call the word is. That should be confidential, but they will have access to all that information. So when we've seen the patterns before, when they experimented with Corona, and they experimented with vaccine passports, these were little trials because they wanted to see if we would allow them to do it, if we would comply, and that is why they're doing this. So we will comply to the Brit cards because we'll see it as a necessary thing to stop illegal immigration. It's one big con and a bribe.
You also need to think about, why is there a push for these 15-minute cities? We've seen it being introduced in Oxford, where they're only allowing people within certain postcodes 100 visits, and other postcodes are allowed 25 visits by car. If you don't have an Oxford postcode, you're not allowed any visits by car. This is, again, part of that whole control that they want over you. Now, if you've got a digital ID, it's far easier to track you, trace you and restrict your movement.
Does this remind you of the Hunger Games? Because quite frankly, when they push these films out, they are trying to show us what they're going to do to us. Does it not remind you of Hunger Games?
It reminds me of something called The Agenda.
The Agenda, very much so. This film, The Agenda, was enlightening. It was so informative. It really does paint the picture as to what the bigger agenda is on a global scale.
Absorb it twice, 3 times, I don't care how many times, because it will show you and reveal the truth. And secondly, what can we do? What can we do to make a stand?
Come back tomorrow and we'll reveal some more.